With the current market of computer components, I thought I would make a video about the usability of a 2008 Mac Pro for gaming. And that may sound strange, however, when considering that these can be upgraded at a low price with a low-end Quadro and around 16 gigabytes of RAM, it may actually be a good option. This will consist of benchmarks and my overall opinion on whether this is a worthy purchase. Currently on eBay, you can purchase an early 2008 Mac Pro with dual quad-core Xeons clocked at 2.8 gigahertz for around $400. Now, the first game I've chosen to test is Half-Life 2, as it was released only 4 years before this computer, so I thought that, and as it was difficult to run when it was released, I thought this would be a good test. So, with all of the details and graphics settings cranked to the absolute maximum, bar vertical sync and motion blur, with resolution set to 1920 by 1200, when loaded into game, frame rates of around 200 were achieved, which is pretty good for the time being. Now most modern computers can run the game at, well, if it wasn't capped at 280 frames per second, they could likely run the game at much faster. But for a computer released only 4 years before, this isn't a bad result. The next test was Rocket League, as I thought, due to the lower-end specifications, this might be a good computer for some esports titles. And with the graphics at the absolute minimum at 1920 by 1080, on the home screen, frame rates of around 140 FPS were seen, and in-game 130 was the average. I really wanted to use Crysis as my next test, as it was released just a year before this computer, and I thought would be a proper test of the hardware. But upon launching, I received an error saying the game could not start due to it being unable to verify my ownership of the game. I am not sure why this happened, as I was connected to the internet and logged into my Steam account, but this was the result, and unfortunately due to this I cannot test the game. Now, as a final test, I thought I would try Teardown, which I just kind of threw in there because I assumed it wouldn't run at all, and due to it being ray-traced and a brand new game, literally released last year. But when graphics settings were all set to pretty much the absolute minimum, the game ran at a perfectly playable 30 frames per second. The only issue was that there was some odd fragmenting in the ray-traced lightings and reflections, which was a little bit annoying and could potentially, well, obviously breaks immersion and doesn't look that great. So, not super great in Teardown, but definitely playable, and as long as not too many physics objects were added or broken, the game still ran fine. So, as a final conclusion, is the 2008 Mac Pro worth buying and upgrading to use as a gaming PC? Well, that's kind of up to speculation. In my opinion, it's a perfectly usable computer, but to many people it may have some issues, such as not launching some new games at all, and others just running very poorly. But as an esports machine, and to play a couple of titles that you can't get on PlayStation or Xbox, it's definitely a good option. Not as good an option as, just building your own computer from scratch, like with a lower-end Ryzen and something like a, I don't know, mid-range, lower-end NVIDIA graphics card. The issue with that, obviously, is that you can't get those right now at all. That's just not possible with today's prices unless you want to pay scalpers outrageous amounts of money. So, take it as you will. I just wanted to give some information out, and hopefully this helped you. If it didn't, let me know what I should have done differently. But thank you for watching, and take care.